This is the dawn of one of the most important events in the South Pacific. In 1962, in this area, the first South Pacific sovereign state, Western Samoa, was born. It marked years of struggle against various imperial powers, and 30 years on, that spirit of independence is still strong as ever. Thousands gathered as early as 5 in the morning to wait for the ceremonies to begin. It's here at Mulinu'u where Western Samoa's parliamentary whono or meetings are held. Primary and secondary schools from all over Western Samoa have assembled here. This year's celebrations are different to other years, when schools and groups used to march through town. The usual overseas dignitaries are absent in a bid to save costs. But preparations are well in hand for Samoa's head of state. The Guard of Honour assembles, including a group of New Zealand Samoan police. Finally, the moment everyone's been waiting for, the head of state, Malietoa Tanumafili II's arrival. Malietoa became joint head of state in 1962, with Tupua Tamasese Meaole, who died a year later. Since then, Malietoa has been sole head of state, a position he'll hold for the rest of his life. As Malietoa inspects the Guard of Honour, everyone also stands as a sign of respect to him. Standing at attention are the Western Samoa Police and returned servicemen and the New Zealand Samoan Police. A short service is conducted by Reverend Siatua Leuluaili'i, President of the Methodist Church, followed by Malietoa's address.
Ia malie fo le finangalo pe a fai wa umi maloa le a matanga o tātou sauninga.
The mood of the celebrations is more subdued compared to other years because of the recent cyclone, but independence is still important to the Samoan people.
I believe they have determined and they have found out that being an independent state is advantageous for them. And most of the Samoans, they have a lot of motivation and self-innovation in order for them to contribute in some form of activities that they can to help to the sustenance and to sustain the peace, tranquility, and stability within the country.
For many, it's an emotional occasion to see the Samoan flag hoisted on Independence Day. There's a feeling of patriotism among every Samoan here today. It's been a long morning for some. Both the Western Samoan and New Zealand police were up before 4 to eat breakfast together and prepare for this parade. One of the highlights was a contingent from the Cook Islands. They swung their hips and themselves into the favour of many Samoans. Independence is a time for Samoa to commemorate its sovereignty and to think about its progress in the last 30 years.
We have achieved quite a lot before we became independent, and since that time it is quite remarkably different. The only area that has not shown any remarkable change is the rate of economic development.
The formal entertainment to end the morning is provided by Yasaki Samoa, a Japanese-owned company which has established a branch in Samoa. 1,200 Samoans, mainly women, are employed by Yasaki, and they make up the special entertainment group. The group has paid many tributes to today's events, and in particular to Yasaki for providing them with jobs. Yasaki is a forerunner for other overseas companies who will eventually invest in Samoa, and it's a brave new step towards the country's development.
We are looking into secondary factories to manufacture here in Samoa, and also primary manufacturing here in the country. And there is a great potential for attracting some of the overseas investors to invest here in Samoa in those areas.
With the morning's events over at Mulinu'u, the dignitaries head off to the Tusitala Hotel for the state lunch. With midday temperatures well over 30 degrees, it's good to cool down with an iced drink. Meanwhile, the crowds are flocking to Apia Park for Samoa's first ever music festival made up of local bands. We caught up with some of the people here. How did you feel when you were taking part in the celebrations this morning?
Oh, it's a great feeling of pride, and you can feel your family's pride there with you, so it's great.
Even though you live in New Zealand, what does Samoa's independence mean to you?
It means I probably wouldn't be where I am if our people didn't strive for their independence, so I'll always be grateful for that.
Benaya, how would you describe the atmosphere here today?
I think I'll sum it up in just one word. It's incredible. To me, it's incredible. I may sound biased because I'm from Apia, but yeah, it's exciting, incredible.
And how did you feel when you saw the flag go up today?
Oh, I'm very proud of it. It's something we're really proud of, as a Samoan anyway. Because as before, there were two flags went up since 1962. From there up to today, it's only one flag, just Samoan flag, which is very proud of it. It's all the Samoan do too.
Don't say goodbye. Won't you give out loud another try? Come on, baby, it's time again. It's breaking our start to do.
The spirit of the Samoan people is always great. I mean, after the cyclone, the spirit was great. And, you know, it's always good to me.
Day 2 of the celebrations is a sports day. After the success of Le Manu Samoa, one of the nation's favourite sports is rugby. Tagata Pasifika heads the organising committee for the celebrations. Given the fact that Samoa's just gone through Cyclone Val, do you think there's anything for Samoa to celebrate?
Oh yes, definitely. There's always reason to celebrate. We celebrate that we've been independent for 30 years, that it has been a stable 30 years. If we look around some of the developing countries in the world, their entry into independence has not always been peaceful. So I think Samoa has a lot to be thankful for, cyclones and all.
What aspirations did people like your father have for Samoa back in 1962?
Well, I think any leader aspires that his or her country will have peace, that they will all be well fed and well housed, that they would be educated. Education is held very highly by Samoans, and the growth of the education sector since becoming independent has been very fast. But I think it's the basics, that people are secure. And of course we do not have the welfare system that you have in New Zealand, although I know there have been different restructuring by your government. But I think our families play a big part in the security of our people, to ensure that people are cared for, especially in their old age.
I believe the future of Samoa will be nothing but stability and economically sound. We have the potential of availability of land, also the manpower to do that. What is only needed is how we can do that.
I think the leadership of the country has been able to steer our path in these 30 years. Of course, the changes require that leaders also, catch up with what is happening. But for instance, with the change to universal suffrage, that was a very controversial issue with regards to the Matai system. But we feel that if anything, changing to a universal voting system will reinforce the Matai system, because the Matai system is quite separate from the government system, and if the Matai system feels that it perhaps does not have the standing that it has before, then it should feel challenged to make sure that what Matais are set up to do, they will continue to do, and that is to look after their people and their family. And I think anyone that is in a privileged position, such as our Matais are, should take on their responsibilities, and they are accountable, of course, to their families. After all, that's how the Samoa is set up. We're chosen to lead, but we're also chosen to serve.
Ai le taito